Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, the elect of Yahweh Shai. First and foremost, Kal Halayim, Wahawad La, Abanawa Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach, Wa Malak Yahweh Shai, Tuwari Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shai, Faha Kodash. Double honor to the venerable apostles of the GMS, Great Millstone, who rule and teach Yasha Alawel through the Spirit, leading the flock by example. Peace, blessings, citations goes into the Bayaf Shah Dawada, which is the house of David. Adawan Ratazar, which means Lord willing. So Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Yeah, man, signs of the times, man. As you can see on your screen from this article, thetelegraph.co.uk. Alright, dated 27th of April 2023. The headline reads, Britain suffers £43 billion blow as workers get poorer and sicker. Alright, this is just a clear sign, alright, showing us that this society is collapsing, alright, bit by bit, but it's surely going down, alright. You got workers refusing to work and stuff like that, and we've had major strikes across all job sectors over here within the UK as well, okay, and that's been detrimental to the economy and the job market, okay, and on top of that, inflation just keeps getting worse. So as we read on in this, it says British workers are getting poorer and sicker at a cost of £43 billion a year as millions are unable to get help from the crumbling NHS, a new report warns today. The IPPR think tank said long NHS waiting lists and the UK's shrinking workforce showed urgent action was needed to reverse the trend of ill health and prevent a life-changing impact on earnings for those affected. It came as separate data showed the total number of days lost to sickness by UK workers jumped to a record high last year. The Office for National Statistics, ONS, said about 185.6 million working days were lost owing to sickness or injury during the year, the highest since records began in 1995. Minor illnesses, including coughs, colds, flu, and diarrhea, were the most common reason given for absences in 2022, overtaking the other category, which includes C19. You know what that is. The IPPR said that the number of people suffering from chronic health conditions has already started to rise sharply even before the shutdown of the computer hit, with 2 million more people reporting a mental health condition. I had to, got to speak in codes or else, it'll trigger the algorithm. Okay. So, reporting a mental health condition between 2016 and 2019, this cost workers who were affected an average of £2,200 in lost earnings because many were forced to give up their jobs or cut back their hours as a result. Quite a lengthy article, so I'll just pick certain key points. Okay. This is where we're coming to. This is exactly where we're coming to. Alright, and on top of that, man, again, people are not able to keep up with their living costs. Alright, and it's a clear sign of this wicked man, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, kingdom's crashing. Alright, plenty of uproars and more to come. Alright, these government officials don't even care, at all, because, they're not living like the poor. They're not living like how the poor are living. Okay, not at all. With all these, minor illnesses like the coughs, the colds, the flu, and diarrhea, alright, and the absences therein, alright, less and less people are being seen to as well. Okay, that's how you know who the wicked is, man, pursuant to Job 9 and 24. That's how you know who's ruling, alright, and that's why all these nations, man, they're suffering because, this man's kingdom is falling, so all these nations are feeling the squeeze as well. Okay, and ultimately, all these, prideful people, okay, all these nations, especially Edom, will be brought down, okay, they'll be brought down to the dust, right, the dust representing confusion, alright, so let's see if we get a precept. Okay. So get Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. So Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. Okay, and right now the basest of men is ruling. Alright, after all, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Alright, so as we watch and see this evil kingdom falling, alright, we're going to see the kingdom of Yasha'Allah rising up under Yahweh Hashem Yashai. Okay, and underneath that, starting with the elect. Alright, and we can see in the news, alright, that the British public is against the government. Alright, and the majority of these nations are having uprising against the government, against the people, things like that. Right, Satan rising up against Satan, a house divided can't stand. Alright, more sedition and uproar to come. Alright, as we continue further in the year. Alright, because these people are dissatisfied, very dissatisfied with the rulership. Henceforth, the reason why, right, it has to come to an end. And at the same time, this is also a faith booster, right? Because we know that these final few prophecies are around the corner. Okay, let's get a milk scripture in the Apocrypha. Okay, Second Esdras chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right, so your class wars, your race wars. Right, it's all going to take place. Okay, more misery. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the cost of their actions shall stand in their power. Right, they're not going to care about what these government says, what the prime minister says, what the president says, what the mayor says. Okay, they're going to take the matter into their own hands. They're going to take the law into their own hands. Right, doing what they believe is right in their own sight. Okay, and then you're gonna have famines increasing. Right, when the dollar becomes less and less, and the British pound becomes less and less, until it's worth nothing. Okay, people are gonna starve. At the same time, this society is crumbling. That's why Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 says, the vision is for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Alright, and we are most certainly in those times. The destruction of a kingdom, every inception of any great kingdom, alright, that has built themselves up, has fallen. Ancient Egypt fell as an example, alright, so on and so forth. They had that authority and power, but it still fell. This kingdom is rooted in wickedness, so it must go out in wickedness. Okay, more sicknesses and plagues. Okay, are taking over. They're here. All right. And these workers refusing to work in the NHS. All right, they won't help. All right, they won't help the less fortunate that's sick at all. If we go back to the article. See if we can go back. Says the IPR said while the loss in earnings was sharper before the scamdemic, lockdowns then resulted in family members having to give up work themselves due to caring responsibilities, and that's going to put more strain, okay, on the workforce in the NHS. Economists said these lost earnings had a significant impact on the economy, right, equivalent to 2% of GDP or £43 billion of output. If we jump down, it says lower business spend on overheads, business costs from sick days, lower production, and the impact of short-term illness could be significant additions to this figure. The research said poor health was to blame for more than half of the 3.3 million people who left paid employment in the 5 years running up to the scamdemic, with women and the low paid most affected. Okay. So, it's getting worse from here on out, man. Alright? And, the NHS this is the biggest health service, in the UK, and maybe even within Europe. What's going on here? Bear with me, Salaki, about this. Let's get James chapter 5 and verse 1. Right, the subheading, misuse of riches. Okay. Let's go from verse 1. Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. Verse 4. Behold, the hire of the labourers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of armies. Okay, and at one point, Britain was flourishing, right, just like Babylon the Great, America. Okay, everyone wanted to go to America. All right, everybody wanted to have that American dream, and really it's an American nightmare. Okay, all right, and the economy of Britain, man, that's it's getting worse and worse. Okay, look at the British Empire and how it made its influence all over the earth. They ruled everywhere. Right, look at the resources they extracted in the name of colonialism, racism, oppression. Okay, and things here used to be very cheap. Right, look at the steel that they manufactured. All right, and a lot of that was, the center for that was in the city of Sheffield. Okay, and in the 80s they shut down a lot of the factories as well. All right, and those, that's when a lot of jobs were available. Okay, that's why they had that Windrush. You know, and they called in a lot of you know, you know, Israelites mainly from Southern Kingdom to come over and build up the British economy after the devastation of World War Two. Okay, but these devils think that their rulership is going to continue forever and ever. All right, that's their inward thought. Their inward thought is that their houses, meaning their rulership will continue forever. Let's get verse 5. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. Verse 6. You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. That's right. Look at the atrocities that Esau Edom has done to our people. Okay. Verse 5. Last tired as well. Okay. Let's get one last scripture and then close out. Lord willing, sessions edify, man. This is Book of Sirach, chapter 10, verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Ill-gotten gains, fraud. Right, that's the root of how Britain, right, got its wealth. And we all know the history on how America was, the inception of America. Okay. Right, what they did to all 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Okay. And as one kingdom is being brought down, the kingdom of Yahweh Shem Rashai, alright, will come into full force in righteousness, and that'll be ruled in righteousness. Okay. And that kingdom will never end. So Brakatah Yahweh Shem Rashai for that. Kingdom of Yahweh. Kingdom of Yahweh Shai. So with that, I'm going to leave it right there. Again, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach Kodash, and with that, Shabbat Shalom to the elect.